and glory! Today we're sitting down with Joey van Koningsbruggen, founder of Jimmy Joy and Sapiens. Food and fuel. Sometimes we just want the fuel. No grocery runs, no need to think about what to eat, what the meal is going to be made up of. Heck, are we being healthy? Am I bothered? Do I even have the time or dime to intentionally put towards what's going on my plate? Joey kind of threw me a curveball here in that he's also helming this whole other nootropics business, Sapiens, besides Jimmy Joy. So, though we mainly discuss the elephant in the room, i.e., food, its benefits, the drawbacks, this is Lifestyle Longevity or Longevity of Lifestyle with Joey van Koningsbruggen, coming to you from Amsterdam, the Netherlands.
I was very different on purpose. Like I was really looking how to be different than the majority, and I hung out with folks that did the same, like skaters and punkers and drawbacks. I'm not sure if you know what that is, but it used to be like there were groups of punkers and emos and skaters and regulars, way more than it was now. I'm not really sure where that need to differentiate came from, but it was a lot of fun.
And now, what do you find is different about who you are?
I have different ambitions. I don't really feel the need to be expressively different or be perceived as such. Yeah, in general, I just have different ambitions than I had back then. Jimmy Joy is just about creating the healthiest meal possible. So that's not about altering states at all. And I think what we have right now is as close to that as possible, because it's based on a large body of science on what you actually need, and it has all the sources in a manner that makes it bioavailable, so that your body can actually use all the nutrients that you need. Yeah, maybe the food is the route to actually enhance humans, but probably, gene therapy will be far more effective in the future.
I mean, I didn't even know that you had this other company, Sapiens. Is it Sapiens Labs?
Yeah, true. Yeah, sapienslabs.io.
Are you guys based in Europe or in the U.S.?
In the U.S.
Okay, whoa. Okay, well, I mean, I did a little bit of digging as well, and I'm seeing that you kind of work as a facilitator of sorts, because you see something you want to do, you're an instigator, and even with the pizza company that I saw you'd also launched, you have a concept that you're very mindful on onboarding people whose talents match the specific roles and needs to further that company. And in this way, you're kind of constantly on the move, like starting something new, bringing people on, and then you're on to the next thing. Kind of love to know, are there any ideas that you're currently sitting on that short term you'd be looking to get off the ground?
Yeah, that's a good question. There are loads of things, and they're mainly in the regenerative medicine sphere area. But I don't have time at this moment, or resources really, to be able to do a successful biomedical startup. But that's super interesting, because there's so much happening in terms of being able to investigate the building blocks of life, because we can not only read DNA, but we can actually 3D print DNA, and it's possible to mimic synthetic biology. And I just finished a book by David Sinclair called Lifespan, Why We Age and Why We Don't Have to. That's a Harvard medical school professor that had a theory on how to cure aging, and remarkably had some great results in mice. He's about to publish. He already shared the findings in his book. That's so groundbreaking to me that I would really I would love to be a part of that field, but at the same time, I really like what I'm doing right now. So, as a team, human health, human prosperity is really an interesting thing.
Yeah, that's really where I see your calling is at through all of these companies and roles that you've taken on.
Mainly, I'm doing Jimmy Joy. Sapiens is really just about me wanting to try nootropics and making a company out of it because it's I know how to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the website, and I love how so you just simply trying. Meanwhile, you're helming an entire nootropics company here.
If you really like something, it's good to institutionalize it.
Dang, you just kind of throw me a curveball here. I would love to discuss Sapiens Labs as well, but okay, got to rein it in a little bit. See, after kind of getting a feel for the way you work, how long do you actually think you'll be at Jimmy Joy? Because it seems like it's challenging and stimulating you enough.
Yeah, Jimmy Joy is very challenging because it's based on science. It's hard to A/B test things because you can't have a control group eating one thing and a control group eating another because no one actually is gonna do that and you need to do that for like 30 years to have actually good data. That's something that's not possible. So it's a really hard science, and the government bodies that determine how much World Health Organization and the European Food Safety Authority and the FDA, for example, determine how much of a nutrient you need. But at the same time, they need to base themselves on such a large body of research that they're not agile, but they're probably the most correct you can be. But it's interesting to spot things before it becomes the norm, so that you can actually add benefit before anyone else. So that you can add benefit the fastest. So that field is very interesting. At the same time, it's very international. So we have local fulfillment in Los Angeles, in New York, in Sweden, in Spain. We have production in over several countries, like 25 employees. That makes it very interesting from a science and also from a business perspective to grow and navigate this field. There's a lot to be done. Yeah, I like that whole dynamic so far.
So how are you scaling the business in terms of innovation with regards to food and the formulas? And, there's food protocol, there's certifications, regulations, everything that you need to go through, especially on an international scale, but also staying within what governments are setting for their people in terms of, what you're allowed to be using in products, what's safe for the people, in quotation marks, to be eating.
I employ food scientists to a master degree in the food technology to work on the formula. And in terms of legal, I employ my sister, and she's a former lawyer. So that's how I navigate in that space.
And what was that transition period like? The investors and funding, and just getting the concept off the ground.
Yeah, the concept started because I really wanted the product to exist for myself. So I was doing a lot of painting, making art, and I just really hated it that I needed to stop that whole endeavor to, go to the supermarket, think about what I wanted to eat, blah, 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 and clean up. So it kind of like ruins the flow at some points. So what I used to do was make shakes that had everything that's good for me, but based on like my grandma's knowledge,
Yeah.
have a lot of spinach in there and maybe some nuts, maybe even an egg.
That didn't taste that good.
No, it tasted terrible, but it worked. I called it Popeye Grass, and I had that in the fridge. And whenever I felt hungry, if you want to eat fast is very tempting, and there's a lot of options that are unhealthy. So to eat fast and healthy requires some work. So that's how I did that then. And then saw another a company in America that actually went a step further and took the actual recommended daily intakes when formulating. So I wanted to buy that. It immediately resonated with me because I was already doing such a thing in a crude sense, but they couldn't really ship to. I was creating it for other people and selling it, and then I made then I decided to make a website. So I built a web shop to sell some things, and then a friend of mine that works for Vice Media decided to write a piece on it, and that went really well. I mean, it went very viral. Got translated into all other vices in the world, including the US and the UK, which are very large. So all of this on had huge amounts of traffic going to the website and more media inquiries and more people wanting me to make it for them. Yeah, so I hired my then roommate and remodeled the apartment that I lived in that was in the center of Amsterdam to be a food production space, but it was very small, and I had to call the suppliers, and they would like verify, is the address correct? Is that actually where you're located? Because it was like just, it wasn't an industrial place at all. It was
your apartment.
a very narrow street, and it was also on the 4th floor. So
oh my god!
I would ask them to just leave a pallet on the sidewalk, and then I would walk up and down with the individual bags of 25 kilograms to mix and create all the shakes. And then after it was done, walk all the way down again to the post office to actually ship them to the customers. Yeah, and they kind of like organically grew. Soon got too small, so we switched. I hired an area, and then another area, and then another, which we currently are at, and is 2,000 square meters. And it has a professional food grade production area built in that's pressurized, so no dust particles can come in, and everyone that works there wears special suits.
Yeah, sanitized.
That's how it kind of grew into a company over the years.
Well, I mean, you would really be needing all those shakes walking up and down those stairs.
Yeah, true.
So how did you go from being situated in Europe to expanding internationally? Especially when you were already seeing the concept pretty prevalent within the US. What was that like, kind of breaking into that industry?
Yeah, well, when we started it, the concept in America was very much about being as close to water as you can possibly be with food. So having no texture, having no smell, having no taste, that was their goal. But when I started doing it, I immediately had the urge to also make it tasty, because if you're gonna do something 30 days, it's kind of important that it's not
yeah.
So I focused the branding on that aspect, also to like combat the notion of that food has to be, it's also enjoyment, and that's of course very true, but sometimes food can get in the way of enjoyment. So I wanted to express, while their branding was very clean and minimal and scientific, I wanted the branding more to be about, this is actually a celebration. This is actually about freeing you up to do the things that you love.
And would you say that your overall functioning being is optimal? Are you satisfied with your physical and cognitive performance?
Yes, I'm very comfortable, and I believe healthy. I never have any complaints. I'm very energetic, but at the same time, just like everyone else, I'm slowly decomposing and are dying.
Nice thoughts.
So, Yeah, it's actually it's remarkable how optimistic we are as a species, because as far as we know, we're the only species that actually know that on a deep level. Like, it's, of course, a cat or whatever knows that it has to flee or it's gonna die, but at least if it succeeds in fleeing from a predator, for example, it has a relief that it saved its life, and now that everything can become back to normal and safe and again. But we know that eventually, whatever you do, it's like not helpful on the long term. There's nothing you can do to cheat death. So so it's remarkable that we're that we're laughing about that whole notion. I think that's very healthy and very cool about us as a species, that we can have those thoughts at the same time. Like, be very optimistic. Like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna become that, and at the same time, already know that you're about to die at some point. My interest lies in upgrading health, and a good diet is a great starting point, but it's definitely not the whole story. If you're very healthy, you're still decaying. So I think that's why I'm very interested in the whole biomedical field, because I think this is the first time in history that there's actual scientific basis to be somewhat optimistic that the problem of aging could be delayed, and maybe even delayed significantly. And maybe if you delay it long enough, the science has time to catch up and maybe cure aging at some point.
Why are you so put off? I mean, it may seem like a strange question, but nothing is ever expanding or in growth. Why would you want to? We have a set time period here. Why are you so put off by death? And that aging needs to be. I know that there are horrific illnesses, but the natural process of aging. Why would you want to offset that?
Well, yeah, those diseases mainly. So that's the main part. If life was like, okay, it's nice, it's happy, energetic, less effective, you're not gonna be riddled with pains and diseases, and the side effect of that is that you're gonna live for longer. But I think the main goal is just to stop the suffering from old age, and a byproduct is longevity. But even if longevity would mean that you would stay at how you are when you're like 70 years old, so you could have some back pain, some maybe a disease, maybe you need some medicine, but you're a lot slower. You cannot see as well, etc. You cannot hear as well, but still, life is good enough for almost anyone that age, almost anyone of that age that functions, is still able to function normally, would want to see another day.
Yeah, definitely. So, okay, I'm hearing you just going. And even hearing that you have all these different ideas and concepts that you want to get off the ground as well, that you're spread between two companies at the moment. Just giving your background as well, do you have a protocol that you implement in times of when you feel uncertain? Or you have, say, maybe a dip, just to ground yourself and get you going again?
I like writing as a method to motivate. But when I still study, I used to write in my diary as if it was supposed to be very adventurous story. And whenever I got stuck at some point, and would write about all the cool stuff that had happened. Then at some point, when you're done writing that, it kind of like it's like the story requires a new adventure, and that makes it very. That works for me as an inspiration to get up and do something new again.
Okay. Do you fiction, non-fiction?
No, it's autobiographical non-fiction. So what works for me is like truly writing what happens and where you're going and what you're doing.
Almost brainstorming as well. I've never heard someone's take on this before. Everyone's usually, journaling. They've got their bullet journals, that whole entire trend that got going. This may be the next thing.
I was speaking to that moment when you don't really have the energy. I mean, if you don't know what to do, then of course just bullet points on, okay, what is it that needs to be done? What's the priority? That works great. But if there's a moment when you know what to do, but there's not really the energy, then that's a method that is helpful for me.
Yeah. Wow, okay. So then I'd love to know what you do outside of work. You're in those times that you are energized, but you can't always be working, I assume. How do you make time and space to play within your life?
Well, to be honest, I do work the majority of the time. I really like my work.
Okay, so do you still paint as well?
Yeah, sometimes, but I make collages once a week or so.
Wow, okay, so what does a day in your life look like then? You're spread between Sapien and Jimmy Joy. How do what do your mornings look like, your afternoons, your evenings? How do you even use Jimmy Joy in streamlining your days?
Yeah, during the day I'm just at the office doing whatever comes up in the morning, like meetings, decisions, stuff like that. On Wednesdays, I like to do R&D. So in the afternoon, read up on literature, ideas that others in the company had, and just try flavors in the morning and work on formulas.
Well, on to my last question. If you could give us an example of a time in your life where it was guts versus logic and you went with your gut.
Ooh, that's almost all of the important
moments in your life.
Decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hardly ever about logic because for example, starting Jimmy Joy was just wasn't really intentional. It was just like, I really like this thing. I would love to have this thing. I can't have this thing, so I'm just gonna make this thing for myself. And then it kind of evolved into a company, but I just jumped on stuff as they happened and as I enjoyed them. But logical would be like looking at the market and seeing a product market fit for just the right thing and going out and creating that. And that's not at all how I work. This is Guts and Glory, Joey van Koningsbruggen signing off.
This was Lifestyle Longevity or Longevity of Lifestyle with Joey van Koningsbruggen. Refer to the show notes to further get to know our guest. Share your thoughts and show us some love by subscribing or get in touch to be featured on the podcast. Released every other Monday. Thanks for lending us an ear. Passing on the mic.